Recording in progress.
Oh, wait.
Recording in progress.
There we go. All right. Hello, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order, Wednesday, July 5th, 6 p.m. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, signed by Governor on February 15th, 2022, I announce that this meeting of the Select Board is being recorded by Hadley Media, the Select Board office via Zoom, and ask if there is anyone present who is also recording this meeting. If no one is recording, let the minutes reflect that nobody else has indicated that they are recording this meeting. All right. Public comments. Period for 15 minutes. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes so that other members of the public may have an opportunity to speak. Is there anyone here for public comments? Nobody? No hands raised. I don't see any on there. Okay. All right, old business. Young Men's Club events and residents' concerns, follow up on that. Anyone here wish to discuss residents' concerns, additional concerns?
I'm just glad that we had a time where the residents could speak up and tell us what they were thinking.
I didn't see why that was actually on the agenda.
You guys had said at the last meeting that you were going to take it under an advisement, and so I put it on the agenda. So if you have nothing to discuss, we can put it on a future one.
You guys want to put it on the future one?
I don't
You
know
wanna
what there
wait
would,
to
what
see?
there would be to discuss in the future.
I think that was more about like the noise complaints and the other
Right.
stuff and emails that we've received.
I think
on that.
they aired themselves pretty well that night. We can move forward.
Yeah, I think that the main concern was the noise, the trash, and we heard all of that, so I don't see any need to further discuss it under this guise anyhow.
Okay. Moving on.
So can I just clarify that does not need to be on a future?
No future necessity for that. Okay. DPW Building and Garage Outreach and Education.
Jim's here.
Jim's here. Do you want to come up? Yeah,
Me,
You're on bright and early.
only Jim.
Was you were expecting anybody else, Jim?
I don't know, I wasn't even gonna be here, but I think I've got it.
You saw the agenda?
Yes,
And Jim, you saw I gave them what,
from Mike and JP,
yep,
yes.
the two examples from Oxford and Rockford. They have that in front of them.
All right.
I guess we want to put on the fall town meeting warrant for the request for the design, is that correct? And to do that, we need to do a lot of education of the townspeople, as far as, like we talked about last meeting, on why and what we want to do, and probably have some kind of open houses, meet, not, I want to call it meet and greet, that's not the right word. But
Can I ask you?
meet and greet the garage, the old garage.
Can I ask if we set a date for the fall town meeting yet?
Yes, October 26th.
October
26th?
26th, so that doesn't give us a whole lot of
Ooh.
time for people to come back into town after summer vacations and things like that to get a lot of interest unless we had, a couple of different things that we could offer them towards August and September before our town meeting. But go ahead, Jim.
Well,
I
I think it gives us time to plan now to be ready to hit the.
I
Roll
would
rolling
say we
come-
want to plan for something for, mid-September and October to do anything during the summer vacation, it's just too much.
Yeah, but
But-
getting it organized is worthwhile.
Right.
So have we actually set the place or the facility to be built on the same place where it is now? Is that what we're planning?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, the same parcel.
all right,
It'll be built. For lack of a better term, it'll be built at the southern end of the parcel where the storage with the salt shed is now, that's gonna be taken out of there. And it'll be put at the southern end of the property.
all right. So people will get a visual of where that might.
Yeah,
take
we'll have to
place.
get I'll have to go out and work with Weston to get some good, not so much layouts of the footprints, the footprint layouts, plot
Yes.
plans.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think this is excellent. If we can do something like this for Hadley,
Okay,
it's really, and have them everywhere, have them here, have them at the library, have them town hall. And I don't even know if there's a tax bill going out, we could send one to everybody.
it just
That's
went out.
possible.
Just went out.
Just went out. Is there nothing
How
else?
about the water
before?
sewer though? Because those property taxes just went out.
But water sewer.
So you're, I can ask and, so if I can get some guidance, is this the feasibility studies responsibility
Yeah, who's
to
who's
do all of
overseeing
it?
that?
Yeah, so I would just like some guidance
I
there.
think you have anybody else to lay it on.
Are we looking actually to, we've already hired an architect?
Pardon?
We've already hired an
No,
architect?
No, we've hired a feasibility study. Architect, that's what we have today. The money that will be requested at town meeting, very similar to when they had the school and the safety complex design.
Yeah.
You now get the money, now you go for a full design. And we'll be selecting an architect. It could be the company we're using, it could be somebody different.
Okay, so
you'll-
that's our
you'll-
next step at town meeting is to go for an architect.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it's you'll advertise at a local news, do proper advertising,
Yes.
interview, select. And then go with the design
Have you thought of a price on how much that's going to be?
for the fall town meeting.
Yes.
Yes, about 2.5 million.
3, including the OPM.
Hmm?
3, because we have to include. the
Oh, 3,
OPM.
because we gotta include the
OPM.
OPM and some other stuff, yeah,
So this is just for design.
just for design. Yeah, yes, I
Everything
know.
is cool in
I,
there.
oh, yeah, go back to the school when we did it, and then the other committees, I mean, we had. I
EMS
think it was
resuscitation here.
$500,000 for the school. But that was 30 years ago,
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
and if we had done this probably 5 years ago, it would be a different price too, because COVID has just knocked things insane.
Sky high.
And, well, I
And
mean,
Jim,
go
do you-
ahead, go ahead and build this facility today for what you built. it
Yeah,
for.
really, no.
So anyway,
and Jim, do you think the feasibility committee, would you be willing to take this on? I mean, obviously Scott's going to be an integral part of that and Carolyn. as well,
everybody, I
sure.
believe, everybody that's on the feasibility committee has expressed an interest to stay on for the full design committee.
Okay, great.
I don't know that anybody that's backed off of it yet.
Mhm.
But we haven't really posed that, but I mean, most of the people that are on it want to be on it.
Mhm.
You've got DPW people that have a vested interest.
Mhm.
So,
Well, one of the things I'm thinking, and I know that we've certainly learned this in other, I'll call them endeavors in the town, is that once word starts getting out, oftentimes there's a lot of misinformation that fills that gap, right? But yet, we're talking about town meeting, and a lot of people who are gonna be at town meeting voting don't necessarily pay much attention until it gets really close to town meeting, right?
right,
But I think it would be worthwhile, whether it's the flyer or something, to start trickling information out, because that also gives us a pretty good sense of what the objections are gonna be. I mean, we know one of them, of course, is going to be, yep, no, Hadley Media too, but we know one of them, of course, is just gonna be, we can't afford it. We already got the 3 new buildings, this, forget it. But there may be other ones that come up, and then it gives us time to, and your committee time to anticipate that.
And I think with, I can honestly say, I think Scott Mersbeck pays a little bit more attention to our town and certainly putting out there that we are anticipating to go forward with this for the fall town meeting. You know, certainly we'll put it out there, people read whatever for it is, the Gazette Online. And, you know, they can at least be aware of it there too. So whatever we can do to get it out would be great.
I know our public safety people are really good at hot dogs and hamburgers. Maybe they would volunteer to do the.
Say it like you mean it, Mike.
In between calls, as many as you've had today.
Right.
Oh, my God.
But that is a way, food gets people there. Guaranteed.
Yeah, and I
It's a-
do think a
it's
lot
a-
of people would be shocked, absolutely shocked.
You
Who've
see,
never been to the DPW yard to
Right.
see what. the
Oh,
work
No,
is.
that's absolutely true. I mean, especially if you see the outside, you see the inside, I mean. It's a 50+ year old building and it shows it.
Yeah.
It's not built for today's equipment. I mean, a lot of their equipment will fit, but only by fractions of an inch into the doors.
Yeah.
And at the time when it was built, that garage was the cat's meow. But things change a lot,
the cat
You
grew
bet.
up.
you know?
Well, I say, let's move forward. I don't know if we need a motion for it or not, just to.
You don't need a motion. I just need some direction. Who's going to oversee it? Are you asking a feasibility study to do that?
Yes. I
And
would
Jim,
move forward.
you're speaking
with
on
that.
behalf of the feasibility.
Okay.
study.
The sooner the better. That would be great.
We
Thank you,
can, we
Jim.
can have a meeting, Jim, and then just figure out,
Yeah, we got
Out
a
of-
meeting scheduled for later this month.
yeah.
And we can start, you know, I've already mentioned to the committee that this is what's on on the docket. And we can start to plan a plan of, we're getting information out there, so on and so forth.
Somebody trying to talk?
The reminder.
Okay, yes.
No, thank you. They just muted themselves. I muted them. Oh, you muted them.
No.
They were muted.
I think
they did. Oh, what happened?
And it'd probably be good, maybe you could, make sure that you're back on our board agenda in maybe August. So as we're heading into whatever events you have planned, we can make sure we can participate too.
All right,
Good,
thank you.
thank
I
you.
can-
Thank
I
you.
can- I
Thank
can flip- I can flip burgers too.
You promised cookies.
Oh, I can do cookies. I can do cookies.
Thank you.
Amy, if I can just ask before you go on to next week, I did ask Susan, the next sewer and water bill goes out 8/1. I haven't asked her if it's because she needs to approve that to go out.
Mhm.
So that would be 8/1. Is the board okay with us? Really just using that template?
Pushing
And
it though.
Putting our,
lots of last, it's a good.
I
it's 8/1.
understand that, but it's pushing it.
I'm
You-
happy to work
So
on it.
just past experience, you need to get this out as soon as possible for special town meeting. If it was annual, it would be different, but special town meeting, you got to get it out there.
Okay.
I'm happy to work on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Warrants AP 2352S, AP 2352, PR 2325, AP 2351S, AP 2351, AP 2352, and AP 2352S.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Joyce, second by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Excellent. So I think we should probably get into 5.1 and then cut it off at 6:30
yes.
if it takes longer than that. I hope that it does not also.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see where it would.
I just want to say thank you all for your patience for a little bit later time on the appointments. I know that we went through that last meeting in June, but I was out, so thanks for your patience, getting it out to you. I tried to make this as user-friendly as I could, and I did put a key at the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet. The green committees, the dark green committees are the committees that I had responses from. The library committees are the ones I didn't have responses from, but I think they do need to be reappointed. And, there's a couple, like the Shade Tree Committee that I just heard from today, and 2 people asked to be removed from it and not reappointed. So, how I did this was, if you were being reappointed, you're in lieu. And then it has your new term, which the new term for 3 years appointments, July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. And then for the first one, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, that is a committee that was started with, the members were 3 members for 2 years, 1 member or 2 members for 1-year terms. I'd like to suggest that y'all adopt, if y'all decide to appoint this committee again, that you do a staggered term limit and make them roll on and off together. And since the planning board's on there, I do think it might be easy just to follow their election dates, and then I would do the same for Ms. Keegan. Would be my recommendation for that committee. And then onward,
You want to vote on each one individually?
that is your pleasure.
So I was thinking maybe we could pull out certain ones that we want to discuss and then appoint the rest as a type of consent agenda almost, if that works for everybody else.
It's fine with me.
Do we need to specifically talk about the Affordable Housing Trust in light of what Jennifer said about the term limit, instead of appointing them all for 3 years, start splitting that term?
I'd pull that out.
Okay.
Why are you gonna pull them out?
Well, I mean, like pull it out from the consent agenda type thing, if that works, if you guys want to.
I would just
pull
say,
out
I would
ones.
just say, let's go with Jennifer's suggestion.
I agree
mean,
with that. I move
Okay.
that we do
I'm
that.
gonna make a motion to go with Jennifer's suggestion to have them staggered for their term of whatever office they are
Yep,
on.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Joyce, second by Molly. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent. Okay, so there were a couple that I wanted to pull out to have a small discussion about.
Let's just go down, right, let's just go right down.
Yeah, and I think she's gonna pull them out as we go.
Yeah. let's
Right,
just
You're
pull
right,
the
so we'll just pull them out as we go and then
All right,
vote on
so
the rest.
Ambulance committee, let's go.
Ambulance oversight,
So move done all of them. You want to stagger those two?
Well, actually, that's an annual, but I think y'all want to just keep them. So you just wanted me to go through, we'll pick and y'all pull if you have questions?
yeah,
Okay, next one's ambulance oversight. Everybody wants to serve again. There is one vacancy because Barbara Connor has resigned. So that'll be an annual appointment for all of them if you decide to do that. The next one is Ag Commission, Matt.
Let's do that. Motion to approve the ambulance oversight committee.
We're trying to avoid voting every single one of them.
Oh, okay.
yeah, we're just
Yeah.
pulling out the ones we want to talk about. So I
And
wanted
then
to,
we'll do a consent at the end, like and say.
yeah,
okay,
so I wanted to pull out,
Each one as we go along. Huh?
I wanted to pull out the Ag Commission.
Okay. go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay,
The next is the bylaw committee. There is, they are through completion, so they're not actually due for appointment because it's to the end of the project, but Randy Iser needs to be appointed as a select board member, and there is a vacancy on that committee. And I have a list of all the vacancies that I can go over at the very end.
So move for Randy.
Second.
no, we're just going through them.
Okay. Cable franchise committee, this committee is still in existence because it's through the completion of the project that contract does need to be renegotiated. However, it hasn't met in over 2 years. So there needs to be something done about it. I don't know. I believe Carolyn's tried to reach out to the committee
Yes.
members. They have
So
not-
when we were trying to work on the renewal, I sent out an email to all of the members. And we either they weren't interested or no response. So it really is kind of a not
A non-committee.
non-committee right now.
So the big choice is that y'all do another call for members for it and get it active again, of people who want to participate, because I know that Alex is getting antsy because the deadline's approaching.
So then we should pull this
Pull
as
this
well,
one?
if they're not,
Okay,
Yeah.
right, these individuals
that's fine.
aren't
I'll pull
responding.
that.
For Alex.
And cable, yep.
Okay.
Capital planning,
Capital planning.
Everybody's still through to 26.
Yeah.
They're fine.
That's good.
climate change,
Everybody turned in their paperwork and everybody wants to stay.
excellent.
Okay.
Diversity, equity,
There's one vacancy on that one, but everybody's annual, everybody wants to stay.
excellent.
Okay.
Community preservation,
Y'all have a vacancy, Cassandra Gonzalez has resigned. So the select board will need to fill a vacancy, and that's gonna be a one-year term, because these are staggered. So it's a one-year term, and then the second vacancy on there is actually, Edwin Matusco has resigned for the Conservation Commission, so definitely resign from the CPA as well. So, the Conservation Commission will need to reappoint their member. But y'all have one vacancy there, and then Mary Thayer is the only member that y'all appoint that needs to be reappointed, and she did submit a letter request to be reappointed.
okay,
I'll volunteer for that committee. Or do you have others who volunteer?
Y'all usually, I don't know, in my memory, I don't remember a select board member being on it.
But it says select board appointment.
That
isn't-
means
Oh, I
the
thought it was.
community- I'm sorry, it's a community member at
Reappoint.
large.
I got it. Forget that then. Okay.
Okay. Next is the Conservation Commission. Gordon Smith is seeking reappointment. And, as I said, Edwin Matusco is resigning. Brandon Daniel is a new appointment, and he submitted a letter of interest to join the committee, and the Conservation Commission has met with him, reviewed him, and are recommending him for appointment.
okay,
Council on Aging, there are 2 new appointments to fill 2 resignations. And then David Story and Linda Leduc both are seeking reappointment.
okay. And they're staggered, so everyone else is good.
Yes.
Cultural,
Michelle Morris Friedman is the only one on the committee seeking reappointment at this time. She's the only one due.
Okay.
The Disability Commission is completely vacant. I leave it on there because if we have one, there's grant opportunities that we could really benefit from for the town. That's fair to say, Carolyn.
Yeah, you
so
have
do
to
we
have
have
that
to
active.
pull that one for,
It's one of your boards. I put it on there for you to see, but yeah, there's nobody to appoint there.
okay,
DPW Disability Committee is through the completion of the project. The flood overlay bylaw committee is also through the completion of the project. But there is a vacancy. Greg Mish used to fill the Board of Health position, he's passed away. So Board of Health will need to reappoint, that's their reappointment.
Okay.
Again, Have Media Advisory Committee is one of your committees that's stood vacant since all of the committee members resigned. 3 or 4 years ago, but it's still a standing committee. Y'all have not expanded it. You might bring it back or recruit
Probably
members.
advertise again.
advertise.
I can work with Alex to put together an advertisement of all your vacancies at this meeting.
That would be good.
Historical Commission, Sharon Parsons is the only one due for reappointment, and she did apply. And then, we have 2 vacancies on that.
Okay.
Housing Economic and Development Committee, they have all indicated to Molly that they wish to remain. So, they all are ready for reappointment. Mosquito opt-out was a committee that, y'all appointed them through completion. I think at the time the thought was if this committee would, submit the first application and that would be it. But it appears that there's always an application that they need to
Yeah.
fill out. And so I would recommend that you turn them into either an annual appointment or a 3-year appointment or something along those lines. Because term,
Yeah, because
it's
it's,
such a.
it's every year,
Right.
right? So, I think we should do that. Do you guys want to do
Annual.
an annual one?
Sure.
For them?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
What's the green mean?
When you say responded to me.
Municipal,
We pull that one out.
you want to pull that one? Okay.
So,
So we'll pull that one for discussion.
okay. I'm asking to hold on the Mountain View Range Advisory Committee. I believe that they are disbanded. but I've not been able to confirm that yet. So I'm asking you to hold until I can.
Okay.
VPCP, that's the standing annual appointment for Scottsville. And then David Moskin, I did not hear back from him, but he is the town's representative. He has been for years. But I actually asked you to hold his as well, so I can see if he's still interested in attending the meetings or not, because it might be beneficial to have someone, if he's not able to attend, he's too busy to appoint someone else that would be able to. So I would actually ask you to hold that as well. Sorry, I didn't make him. Kathy Nelson is indicating she would like to remain recycle coordinator. Russell School Committee, they did respond. There were a couple of things that came up when I was working on this. They are a committee of 8 that only had 5 people on it last year. Alan Weinberg is resigning this year as well. So now they're a committee of 4. But it does not appear for a large, I did not dig into every meeting, but it does appear that for most of their meetings, they do not have a forum.
Can we pull that one?
Sure. Okay. Full. Okay.
Tree.
Tree, Brady and it was Kelly Weinzig were the 2 members. They both pulled their names today because they did not want to continue any longer.
Okay.
John Edwards, I'm not able to contact him, so I'm as well until we're able to find out or recruit new people.
Okay. Sewer and water.
That's y'all by default, you're
Yeah.
water sewer commissioners. But it-
Going down the list.
But it is an appointment that you have.
Yeah.
Scott said he'll stick around.
Tree warden.
And then, PA, Carolyn, do you want to?
Should we pull that one?
That's their discussion.
Linda Leduc has submitted a letter of resignation. She said that she could serve until y'all found someone else, or, that was sort of how she left it. She could serve until y'all found someone else, or July 15th.
Okay.
So, but she is resigned. So I guess y'all want to pull that.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve all of the committee assignments that were not pulled with the suggested respective term changes or whatever that Jennifer brought up as we went along. Yeah, it's a motion to approve. those.
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Joyce. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So we have 3 minutes before the continuation of the hearing. So I just wanted to read the thank yous. So the select board would like to thank the following people for volunteering to serve their community: Edwin Matusco, Conservation Commission and the Community Preservation Committee; Marguerite Peg Wilson, Council on Aging; Elizabeth Faulkner, Council on Aging; Cassandra Gonzalez, Community Preservation Committee; Barbara O'Connor, Ambulance Oversight Committee; Dylan Barstow Mans, Housing and Economic Development Committee and Finance Committee; Stacy Cooney, Historical Commission; Adriana Sarzinski, Historical Commission; Shell Horowitz, Mosquito Opt-out Committee; Alan Weinberg, Russell School Committee; Linda Leduc, Zoning Board of Appeals; Joanne Konechny, Housing and Economic Development Committee; Brandy Phil, Shade Tree Committee; and Kelly Weinzig, Shade Tree Committee. Any omissions from that list are definitely not intentional, and we do apologize if we didn't thank you. You're welcome. Okay. I've got 30 seconds and then we'll go.
Okay.
Realize I was gonna read through that so fast. Yeah, okay, it's 6:30. All right, so we're going to reopen the public hearing for the Young Men's Club in regards to the alcohol licensing. So I know that at the first time that we discussed this 2 meetings ago, the club didn't have an opportunity to speak, make comments or any statements. So I'd like to give you the time to do that now, Troy.
Want me to go first?
You're sitting there.
Okay. For the record, Tom Reedy, attorney with Bacon Wilson out of Amherst, here on behalf of the Young Men's Club. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about the meeting that we had. And so at the last hearing, there was a suggestion, which we think was a very good one, for certain members of the select board, certain members of public safety, fire, police, building commissioner, to sit down and to talk about the events that have been held at the Young Men's Club. Talk about the license, and to take into consideration all the comments made by the public at the June 21st hearing. And so we've heard everything that public has said. We heard what the town said. We understand the rules. We understand what the license requires. And I think what we'll be doing is going back to the drawing board. And I suspect that we'll be back in front of you for either a different license or different licenses. And I think there's also a second part of this as well that has to deal with the Zoning Board of Appeals and the special permit. And so we're likely to be in front of them as well. And so I don't know how quickly, but it'll probably be sooner rather than later that we'll go through that process. So, we would request no changes, that the board doesn't modify, revoke, rescind the existing club license, and that we're able to continue with that and then try to move through these other changes.
When did that meeting finally take place?
This afternoon, a few hours ago, but very productive. It was good. And so big thanks to Jane and Randy and the chiefs and Tom Quinlan.
I'm glad they were able to
Yeah.
accommodate you.
Absolutely. We appreciate
I
it.
had been asking since the end of last week when that was going to take place, and I understand, people have vacations.
You were away.
So on and so forth. So I was getting a little bit distressed and kind of not happy. So I'm glad that did take place today.
Yes. Thank you.
So can I ask a question?
Sure. Of course.
So to the extent, I think it was clear from the last meeting, it was articulated what the violations were, the potential violations were of the club license, right? So is this suggestion that the club is going to be fully compliant with their current licensing while you figure out a path forward? Or is the expectation that everything just continues as is until you find a path?
Yeah, no, we'll be compliant with the parameters of the existing license. So there aren't, if put another way, there aren't any events scheduled, and prior to any event being held, the idea is frankly, either look at a on-premises all alcohol liquor license, maybe for the entirety of the site, or to subdivide the site and use the club building for the club license. And then you can picture in your mind, like the flag with the pavilion and the open space, either for that section 12 on premises all alcohol, or more likely, maybe one-day licenses, coming back and working with the select board for, if I could, working with the select board for the events, maybe 3 events, and then the Jack and Jill's, the wedding receptions, et cetera. And I see Jennifer shaking her head, but I think what we would be looking to do is have 2 separate premises, right? So it wouldn't be the same license on the same premises. These would be separate premises. So that's why we would look to have the club license on a part and then one-day licenses on a different, just a totally separate. And that's why if the club has some considerations and the town also has some considerations, given I think you only have one on premises all alcohol license available, and whether they would want to allow the Young Men's Club to have it for really, what they would be looking for, 3 main events. I don't know if that's the best use of municipal, licensing. And so that's why we were thinking about going with that one-day license. And if we were able to come up with a way to have certain events, whether there's a threshold of pick a number of people. So the Jack and Jills and the others, if they're held at the pavilion, not that it would be consent approval, but something less than, the 3 larger events that the Young Men's Club would look to hold annually. And then I keep mentioning the 3 events, understanding that part of the discussion today was going back to the Zoning Board of Appeals, potentially to modify the existing special permit for the use to specifically call out those 3 events, and then all the work that the fire, police, and building departments have done as far as conditions, requirements, cooperation, et cetera, the number of police officers, EMS, fire, fencing all around, setup, takedown, hours, those would be included in any Zoning Board of Appeals special permit. So we're looking at like a comprehensive approach to find the path that allows the license to do what Young Men's Club has been doing. And then also get the Zoning Board of Appeals involved to allow it from an event perspective with the safeguards and conditions. So kind of a preview of coming attractions, but that's the way we're thinking about it.
Yeah, and at least the one event continues to be advertised right now, right? So Oktoberfest is out there,
Yeah, we heard.
It's not booked to us yet.
Yeah, so we understood, I heard today that it was advertised, but based on the conversation just after this meeting, given kind of how the meeting went and the timing, I don't know that we will get through the process timely so that event could happen. So I don't think that I don't think they're controlling the advertisement, but I think the correspondence was going to be, it can't happen.
yeah, because it's got its own website, that people have accessed where it's ticking off to the.
People are excited.
Yeah, I guess they are.
What's the deal with, which I find a lot of people enjoy it. I think they love going there on Monday nights with their old cars. And that's really been quite a draw. I know a lot of my friends go there on that night, and not necessarily do they drink, but they go to have fun and just see other people's cars and things like that. So where does that fall into it?
Can I just let you know that Attorney Mead is on as well? You might want to direct that to Attorney Mead,
Who am I directing it to?
our town council.
Oh, Lisa. Hello.
Hi, well, glad to see everybody here. I think that's a question for Attorney Reedy, however, because I don't know the details of that event. And so if it's members only, it falls under the license. If it's more than that, then it would not fall under the license. So he would need to explain how that event works.
So I was a little bit surprised. I just figured that you would potentially be looking for a modification of your premise for consumption on the field for members. If that was.
So that is an alternative as well. I don't think we can handle that from my understanding. If you want to handle that this evening and to put a condition on or change the description of the premises, that's completely acceptable. We were just thinking about going a completely separate route.
I just meant like in the meantime.
Sure.
For your safety.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
Jennifer says that's
We
not
can't
doable
make
thing.
let the attorney, let Lisa answer.
right, which I can direct it to Attorney Mead.
Sure. I do want an answer on the old fashioned cars thing pretty soon though from Mr. Reedy, but you can't modify the, Madam Chair, you can't modify the premises without an application to do so from the applicant. So from a process point of view, let's just take what the applicant has, or the license holder has presented tonight. That they will not have any other events that would be outside of their license, their club license. and that they would seek either a new license and or a new license and a modification to the premises of the existing license, as well as any unnecessary zoning board permits. And they would do that through a separate application to this board later. And I guess from the board's perspective, you could do one of two things. I think that's all good, by the way. I think you could do one of two things. You could keep their feet to the fire, to require them to come in and apply for something and make sure that there are no other events outside of the license by merely continuing this hearing until 4 months from now, for example, if that was enough time to get a new license applied for. Or you could close this public hearing and take no action and just wait for them to apply as has been represented, making sure that the board enforced the use of the club license as it's intended under section 12.
Lisa, can I ask another clarifying question?
Sure.
So I think another aspect of this having to do with the club itself that came up is that my understanding is that the current club rules were a member and then a member could have a guest, right, coming in.
The statute allows that, yes.
Right, but that they are not to be quote unquote open to the public and invite the general public in, is that?
That's correct.
And have you talked about that? Because I think right now, and understandably so, the club's been trying to get people to come in and so they're serving food and.
Yeah, and so I think it's probably a fine detail of where that line is drawn. And I think we're talking about for the liquor license itself, right? Because it's the liquor license, because the club itself can bring people in. It's the serving of the alcohol under the section 12 club license that I think, it's the members and the guests of those members. And so from what I understand, there is a procedure where folks come in if they are public, because they have to come in somehow, and they would be documented, or it will be documented if they're members or guests of the members or would like to become members. And I think what would have to happen is, in order to actually avail themselves of the license on the premises, they would have to become members or be guests of the members. And so while you could have an event that's open to the public, because I don't think there's anything wrong with having that, I think it's the consumption of alcohol under the license by non-members, non-invited guests that would pose the problem. And so I think that's what we're looking to. So while the car show is open to the public, I think they'd have to make sure that whoever is drinking would have to be a member or a guest of the member, invited guests of the member.
Right, and the same thing, they serving food and they're advertising, come on down and have a, I don't know,
You got it.
steak or fish fry
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, soda's fine, but anything more, you probably gotta sign up.
So there was one thing, we didn't have any public comments about the alcohol or the liquor license. Last time it was just about events and additional complaints outside the purview of the license. So I did want to ask if there was anyone here that had any comments about alcohol consumption or the alcohol license itself from the public. I did want to make that as a point. Anyone else? No additional comments? Okay, awesome. So then I think we should
Can I have
deliberate.
any comments from chiefs, how the meeting went? How did you feel that it went today?
Went very well. I think everybody's on the same page at this point. They know that the onus is on them to make the changes that are going to allow them to legally do this, and they have to 100% willing to, if they can legally make those changes, still work with the town and public safety to make sure that there are some regulations and rules in place that allow them to do this safely.
Have you had
A reasonable position for the folks who are complaining about the noise and things like that, to be able to say, hey, look, We have all the legal licenses, they can do this now, and they're only gonna do it 3 times a year. That's pretty reasonable from our side.
So have you had any complaints at all about the car show? I haven't heard of any.
The car show thing is, regardless of whether or not we've had complaints, it's been taken care of. Mitch talked with Sean already. They're gonna be talking to the folks about the burnouts and things like that. To make sure that that stops happening, and Mitch is gonna have to patrol down in the area, just to make sure. They were saying they don't even want, they don't want people burning out down there anyways, because it's construction of different parts. We're all on the same page when it comes to that as well.
So if there were complaints, I think that issue has been resolved and on the same page.
Mr. Dwyer.
I'm fine with it.
Yes, if I may, so Bill Dwyer from the planning board, there is a zoning constraint here. A membership club is allowed by special permit from the ZBA in the agricultural residential district. A restaurant or bar is not. So that is going to constrain your options. I just passed that along for what it's worth.
All right, thank you guys. And then I think we should deliberate, because it sounds, if I'm right,
Lisa,
that we can either deliberate and require them to file for a modification, or we can close the meeting with no findings.
So you can, almost, so you can close the meeting with no findings and take no action. And wait till they come back, or you could continue it for, say, 4 months, depending on what their plan is. And say, we want you to come back with an update on your status if you haven't already applied for a new license or modification or to the ZBA. So that way, if there were further issues, you wouldn't have to re-advertise. Or you can just wait and have them, you can close it and take no action and have them come back in. Madam Chair, I just want to add one other thing, just so the board knows. If the club were to apply for a one-day license, just so you know, you could assign conditions to that license, just like the zoning board or the planning board or anybody could assign conditions. So if they applied for a one-day license, you too could assign conditions to that license to address some of the issues.
Can they have a one-day license on top of their club license?
It would have to be on a different part of the premises. It couldn't be on the same premises that the club license was issued on, as Attorney Reedy suggested earlier. He's correct.
So that would cover like the satellite things, right? Satellite.
Correct.
Okay.
so would it cover, all right, to have it on, so right now the license covers the pavilion and the club itself. So, so I'm talking about the open space that's in between, whether they play horseshoes or whether they have the car show. Is that open for a one-day license on those particular areas?
So I'm not familiar with the site except the license that was issued. Let me just say that you can apply for a license on a different premises on the same property, right? So if the current license covers the pavilion and the club, as you suggest, if there's any other part of the property that's not covered by that license, you can apply for a one-day license for that portion of the premises. But again, you have to make sure you comply with zoning and any other regulations.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was gonna say, my thought at this point is I think it's worth our board's while to have a continuation. Again, for the reasons Lisa stated, gives you guys time to work through this and figure it out. But we also don't have to then start all over again, not anticipating any additional issues, but I think that would be prudent for the board to do.
Are you making a motion, Molly?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we continue this hearing without any current finding for a period of an additional 4 months.
You need to do it to a date and time certain. Month. Yep.
Okay,
No,
So-
November 8th or November 22nd. I don't know if it's the 22nd today.
July, August,
One-
September, October.
Oh. Okay, fine. If you're gonna count that way.
Yeah.
October
meeting.
October
after.
11th,
After
Is
town
the-
meeting.
after town meeting takes you into November.
I think we have to go to November.
November 8th.
That's fine.
November
Please
1st.
wait till October.
Yeah, first Wednesday,
November
November 1st at 6:30.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
snow will
That works.
fly.
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Randy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That's all we want to do is work together. Got it. It's a lot simpler. Thank you,
Okay.
Tom.
All right, so let's go back to the board and committee reappointment.
Thanks, Lisa.
Bye, you're welcome. Take care. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye.
I'll see you in Salisbury.
Okay, you got it.
I'll meet you at the Whale Tail,
Thirsty whale.
Thirsty Tail, whatever.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so let's go back and we can start with the Ag Commission. So I know that we are,
Thank you, guys.
um,
Thank you very much.
so I know that we are reappointing Matt Kushai. But they also have not really met, I believe, in almost a year. Is that right?
They are struggling, he posed, but they are struggling to make quorum. So that leads to a couple of different options.
To see if we could reduce the,
We could look at reducing, the members, the members of on the commission. We could also, maybe look at having them meet 3 times a year, like instead of trying, I think they were trying to almost do a monthly thing. And they might find it more beneficial to just have it 3 times a year or as needed. But there is a concern there, and maybe the people who are on it just don't have time to fulfill it, so maybe y'all want to pick this back up in the fall, and maybe the farmers have a little bit more time to have a conversation about that. Because Matt himself said that this is a really difficult time to get a farmer to fill out a form.
Well, I would love to have Matt. I mean, for the number of years that I've been involved on the select
Mhm.
board and even finance committee, I think maybe once I remember the Ag Commission coming in for any reason.
I haven't needed any.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'd be great to, and maybe Matt could come in and tell us what's on their agenda and what types of things that they're working on.
Mhm.
And I would make a motion to reappoint Matt with that in mind, if we need to do that tonight, but
Yeah.
before we vote on whether or not
And
to
and
reduce. the
actually,
size.
what are we actually expecting
That's what I mean.
out of the Ag Commission? I'm not exactly sure what we are expecting out of them, to tell you the truth, or why it was even
There's-
developed.
Well, so there's like county ag commissions and there's different kinds of ag commissions and
Yeah.
they do different things, whether it's like education and outreach, things like that. But I hope, hopefully they know that they don't have to try and meet monthly, that
Right.
it's really,
They were a good resource when there was a presentation for farmers with climate change and all of that. And
and then
they were a really good resource for that to get the word out.
too, right?
Hmm?
With the flood, I think.
Right, the FEMA map. And then-
Yeah.
And then also Tommy Wiskevitz was pretty active with the right to farm.
Mhm.
Signage, I think they got support from the ag for that.
Okay.
Can we look at maybe inviting him to a fall meeting, since they very clearly told
Should
Matt
be
that.
fall.
Yeah.
So look at October or November, if that's okay.
Yep.
Sure. Great idea.
Okay. But someone make a motion to,
Make a motion to reappoint Matt Kushai, now that I know how to pronounce his name correctly, thank you.
Second.
all right, motion by Molly, second by Joyce. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent.
Okey dokey.
The cable. So they haven't met in over 2 years, but technically they're still active and we're looking and
So none of these people have responded to Carolyn's request. So I think it would be fair to assume that other than Joyce, Carolyn, and Alex, that the people on the committee no longer wish to participate. So perhaps it would be okay to seek new members.
okay.
And I actually don't know, or I apologize, I don't actually know this because y'all did appoint them to term. So perhaps you want to disband this committee and reform a new one seeking new members.
I don't know if you have to disband it,
No?
just seek new members. to
I
fill
think
this.
we should send some kind of notification to
So
everybody
it's-
on it, say,
What I would suggest is that not only do we do a press release that we would for the reminder as well as the Gazette, but we also do it for the website and send it out to all of our employees because
We
think
certainly
we
have had
forget
a
some-
lot of complaints about charters, so I would assume that there might be somebody interested in
Mhm.
what we're gonna go forward.
Yeah,
with
and
and
we-
how we should negotiate.
we're still moving forward because it's really primarily the select board who's going to do that negotiation. So we're still working on it. We'll give legal a little nudge. We've kind of given legal a handful of stuff lately. So we'll get a little nudge on, give them a little nudge and get that out. But I do think a press release after today, identifying all of the committees that have vacancies and
Do they need 9 members?
That was the number of people who responded, saying that they were interested in participating.
I don't think we need 9.
Well, let's ask for volunteers, depending upon how many we get, then we can determine the size of the committee.
yes,
so I'm going to give
Okay.
you a little guidance on there if that's okay. You definitely want to set something because you don't, if you get an even number, you guys need to decide on who's not going to make it.
Mhm.
9 is big. Nowadays, people are really, really busy.
Yeah.
I would suggest maybe starting it at 5
Mhm.
and see where we go from there.
I'll make a motion, we reduce the size of the cable franchise renewal committee to 5 members and reappoint Joyce Chunglo, Carolyn Brennan, and Alex Lamarche.
And ask for
two
two new
others.
members.
Yeah, and advertise for two vacancies.
So
Yeah.
moved.
That was a second, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Motion by Molly, second by Joyce. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Municipal Building Committee.
I asked to pull this out.
Mhm.
It. Again, just from the past couple of discussions we've had with them, it seems like we're at a point where really the primary function that we're looking for, I know they were in here talking about the Goodwin Memorial, that final project, but then a lot of it is coming up with a maintenance plan for the buildings. And I know Carolyn's been working with Gary Bird and Scott on that, right, Carolyn, talking about, because that's under Gary's purview. And I'm just, it just seems to me that at this point, this committee doesn't necessarily have much on their plate, and we should consider disbanding it once they wrap up whatever that final Goodman Memorial project is.
I do too, because it's really not their purview to be taking care of buildings.
Right.
And I
Well,
think
that's
they've
capital
tried to.
planning, right?
I think that, no, it's not
No,
even capital
It's
planning.
because
it's-
you're building
it's
your building
maintenance.
maintenance department now that you have another employee assisting Gary.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. Let's disband the municipal building committee.
Okay. Effective.
Are they still working on anything though? Like, is there any active, anything?
Well, they were in here, I don't remember, if it's the last meeting or the meeting
Right.
before, it was that, and Carolyn would
Oh, it
know
was like
more, that one
3 meetings
final
ago, yeah.
project
The
with, I think they
Goodwin?
were talking about
Goodwin.
every total,
the
but,
good one in the columns.
right. So is that something that you and Gary could just take over at this point? Or,
So, yeah, Gary and I and
Yeah.
Jennifer pretty much did the columns, so
They came out great.
So we're good with
they
it?
came out great, didn't they? They're going out to bid shortly. They're actually in the middle of 2 bid projects right
Yeah,
now.
they're like, as soon as I get a date from the goods and services, they're out in the world. I'm just waiting on
Mhm.
dates.
Okay.
Okay,
After that wraps
Can I
up
get a,
then.
and then we just need a
So if you
second.
want to do it, I mean, Gary and Carolyn will really, I mean, I'll do the paperwork and back end, two of
Yeah.
them can really run it. So you want to make it effective now?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, second, wait a second.
Second, who made the motion? Did you?
Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
I'll second.
Motion by Joyce, second by Molly. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, and then I think the only
keep-
thing.
You're gonna
though,
vote?
although, and
Vote.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Excellent.
Do want to go on record. I think we all do, like thanking this committee has been in
Mhm.
existence for
Oh.
quite a while and they have done so much.
Lot of
Um,
work.
Yeah, a lot of work over the years. So just want to
Mhm.
thank Gary, Tim, Dan, Dave, Alan, and Andy Klepacki and Dave Tudrin and whoever else I'm not remembering, but a variety of people who were involved in this and very much appreciated.
Sounds good.
I didn't pull this out, but I should have the Hadley Media Advisory Committee.
That's totally vacant.
That's totally vacant, so that's gonna go on the,
So I'm just, Molly, you were here and Joyce. The impression I got from the previous director is that committee had been disbanded. 'Cause
No,
it
they
was-
quit.
They quit.
They quit, but, okay, so it was still left.
They were left vacant. They didn't disband it.
Okay. Yeah, misunderstood.
If y'all could disband it, I mean, Hadley Media has been functioning under your purview at the select board with,
I don't think we need a committee
there-
at
yeah.
this point.
so, I mean,
What
y'all
would
by,
be-
y'all are by default, the Hadley Advisory Committee as the select board.
yeah, like, I'm not entirely sure what their like charge would be if we did fill it.
Yeah, when they were originally formed, the primary focus was on. It was at a point in time where we had Richard Truswell, who had been part-time, that did an amazing job with the hours that he had, right? And then Richard was leaving and we hired somebody new and the intent was that we were trying to figure out a way to broaden programming.
Mhm.
So their original charge was really to kind of look at what other towns were doing, what sort of programming they were offering, and then provide guidance to the media director. And then they got into a lot of other things. And yeah. it just-
Okay.
So that being said, I would make a motion to disband that committee because Alex does an outstanding job. He knows what he's doing, does wonderful things. He doesn't need any advisory committee to
Any
guide him.
answers to us?
Mhm.
Perfect.
All right, I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by Randy, second by Molly. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Can't believe we're disbanding a committee. Holy moly.
We just did two of them.
So I have a question about the difference between the Shade Tree Committee and the Tree Ward. How does that, what is that?
The shade tree happened, I talked to Scott about this one, and the shade tree just happens, they have one meeting in the fall. That's how it was.
They used to play much more active. I'm sorry, Molly, please. I'm
No,
sorry.
because we used to have a nursery, the Shade Tree Nursery. And
Okay,
the Shade Tree Committee took care of the nursery and figured out what trees, but working with the warden, because the warden was on the Shade Tree Committee at that time. And then so was Mike Pulaski, and he would work with them to figure out what trees needed to be placed, and they'd decide whether or not they were gonna take it from the nursery and.
They were all planted on the side of the elementary school.
Right,
I remember that.
but do we still need it?
So I'm gonna go motion to disband the Shade Tree Committee based on what I just heard.
Second.
Motion by Randy, second by Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. So let's go back. It was my fault because I kind of went out of order. But we pulled the Mount Holyoke, the PVPCP, the Pioneer Valley Transit, the PVC Joint Transit, and the recycling, is that right?
No,
Recycling.
you pulled Mount Holyoke Range Advisory, Pioneer Valley Transit Authority, and the PVPC, and then the PVPC Joint Transportation Committee. I haven't been able to reach out to David Moskin to check in with him. So I would like if y'all would give me one more just to see if I can get in touch with him.
Okay.
Can I
Is that
just
Bill?
interject?
sorry.
What communities often do
Did
is
Bill want
because they do
something?
meet on a monthly basis is to have an alternate. And I would just personally recommend it. And because who's involved with transportation so much is the COA, is to think about an alternate as many members on the PBTA board are COA directors or board members. So you might want to think about that.
Appointing Haley.
Certain.
Mr. Dwyer has his hand up, Amy.
Yes, Bill?
Okay, just for clarification, I was going to take this up with Jennifer tomorrow, but I'm not sure what PVPCP is. The PVPC Joint Transportation Committee is, I was appointed as your representative and Scott is the alternate representative. So David Moskin has no role on that line at all.
Right, that's the way
Yeah.
we're reading it, Bill.
So
Yeah, we had clarified the difference.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was asked to pull.
yeah, he may or may not still be the PVPC representative, but that is not through, that's through
PVTA is what we're talking about now.
not
Yes.
PVPC. So if you could just move that around so that I'm the member and Scott's the alternate of the Joint Transportation Committee. I'm also the chair of the Joint Transportation Committee for whatever that's worth.
Hey,
Lucky you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
it Means I get to talk to the staff an extra 5 minutes before the meeting. So it's
Nice.
doesn't get anything better for the town at the moment because we don't have any applications pending, but Scott's working on things.
All right, so we can pull those two then.
So
Actually,
where it says PVPCP,
Yeah,
delete that caption and put Joint Transportation Committee in there, PVPC Joint Transportation Committee. And then renew those appointments, please.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to reappoint Bill Dwyer with Scott McCarthy as an alternate to the PVPC Joint Transportation Committee.
Second.
There we go.
All right, motion by Molly, second by Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
thanks for setting us straight, Bill.
No, what, the recycling, was that
She-
pulled?
No.
No.
we voted.
Why did I write that down? I'm sorry.
You'd have to ask yourself that, Amy.
You know, I think so they were all together and they were all white,
There you go.
that I got
Right.
confused. Okay. Russell School Committee.
So I think they've done a great job, but I don't know that we need them at the moment until we move on to the next steps of where we're going. And it may be a whole different group at that point.
Or a whole different charge.
Yeah,
Right, because I think the original charge was for them to figure out what the town wanted to do they did the survey. They, got everything ready. And then because the town wanted the feasibility study, they did that at town meeting. So,
I think that's it for now.
and then once the feasibility study comes back, figure out from there what we want to.
So do we want
Wanna
to
do-
disband this now and come up with a new committee when we feel it appropriate?
Because if we disband this now, then we don't have to worry about there being an even number of people and there being only
Right.
4 out of 8.
right.
So here we go.
That makes sense.
Motion to disband the Russell School Committee.
Second,
Motion by Randy, second by Joyce. Any discussion?
Just to thank them all for what they've done.
Yeah,
they've done a-
they've actually done a lot.
They have.
Mhm.
And we really appreciate that and them. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Zoning board. I had that one pulled.
Linda Leduc has submitted a letter saying that she would serve until July 15th.
Okay.
I seem to remember somebody said something about additional members, but I didn't know if y'all wanted to discuss that or if that was something that could be changed or not.
Because isn't for them like the quorum is 5,
No, there's a three-member board,
three members.
Two quorums too.
so two is a quorum.
So they need another member.
So they should probably have more members.
You have more alternates because if you're hearing a case, you have to hear the whole case. You can't be sick one week and then come into it later. Somebody has to be continuous on the appeal.
I have a question for Carolyn. Do you know what other towns have for numbers on their zoning boards?
Not offhand, but I can get that for you.
Because I look at these and think that with a three-member board, 2 members are a quorum, they cannot talk to each other about anything without individually without violating open meeting law. So to that point, it might be good if we had more members. But I don't know if it'll become unwieldy or what, but I think 4 is not going to be appropriate because it's an even number. So we'd have to go to 5. And again, I don't know how that would work. I would like to hear some statistics on other towns, what they have. But in the meantime, we still need a zoning board.
Do- Go for it.
Board of Appeals is in the bylaws. It was established, the Board of Appeals was established with 3 members and 2 associate members to be appointed by the selectmen. As provided in chapter 40A. So that's.
Associate.
So we'd have to change the bylaw if we want to increase the size of the committee.
Correct.
Want to read it?
No, I'm just saying, what's the difference between an associate member?
I think it's the
and an
same thing.
alternate
I think it's probably the
member?
same.
The same.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of pressure for 3 people, and I think there's an opportunity here for additional diversity. Maybe that's the right word.
It's a good word. And do we know if, is this anything that the bylaw committee, Carolyn, is looking at?
But we'd have to get an update from the bylaw committee.
Now that I'm a new member, I'll report back after the next meeting.
So are we appointing Jason Galvin again?
Yeah, so we'd have to, and then we'd also have to have the vacancy on the list of.
Yes,
I
can do that.
Okay,
Motion to approve Jason Galvin.
Second.
motion by Joyce, second by Randy. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I do just want to mention a concern, just thinking about the conversation we're having. So it sounds like it may be likely. And this is another argument about 3 or 5. Jason clearly is going to have to recuse himself from anything to do with the Young Men's Club. Because I believe he's a director. So, it's another, if any one of us finds ourselves in a situation where we have to recuse ourselves from a discussion, when you only have a group of 3 and consequential decision-making like they're doing,
Right?
that's problematic as well.
Yeah.
I guess he would have to, like anybody else, go to the attorney general and ask if he needs
Ethics.
to or not.
Yeah. Well,
That's other people do.
Yeah, but I think in a situation like where he's a board member as
Right.
opposed to just a club member, it's different.
Yeah.
model.
right.
So I think I covered all of them.
I
Mhm.
can
Nailed
read
it.
your.
Good job.
vacancy- I can
Thanks.
read your vacancy list if you would like.
That's okay.
You don't want me to? Joyce does not want me to.
I
This
think
isn't town meeting. I waive the reading of.
But if we read it, we can also do a requested for interested parties right now.
Oh,
And
go
there,
for
somebody
it.
think
might,
that's a good
somebody might hear
Yeah.
it that, that watches this. So
Sure, why not?
I'll be quick. So the vacancy list at this time, we need members for the following: Ambulance Oversight Committee, 1 member; Bylaw Committee, 1 community member; CDEI, 1 member; CPA, 1 general appointment by the Select Board. Disability Commission has 3 vacancies. The Historical Commission has 2 vacancies, and the ZBA has 1 vacancy. If any community member is interested, they can email the select board by emailing me at info@hadleyma.org.
Okay. All right, Section 7, any other items not anticipated 48 hours in advance? Does anyone have anything? Okay. Town administrators report?
So I'm going to go through the notes that I have on board docs for you, but so live and in person, I did want you to meet Colin Earl, who is our intern for the Massachusetts Municipal Finance Fellowship intern. Colin's back here. So I just wanted to see his face, and he came in with tons of energy today, and I heard great things from Troy about how well you presented yourself today. And so I just wanted to let you guys say hi.
And I know we're in a hurry, but anytime we have a young community member here, I think it's only appropriate that he come and sit up front.
Right. And I was just gonna suggest, Colin, are you against coming up here and telling us what you entail, what you think your job is going to entail?
Yes, no.
All right.
No deliberating. You're just going to say hi to him.
Hello.
Hi,
Nice to
Colin.
meet you all.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, what I think the job's gonna entail?
Yes, please.
I think I'm just gonna help out in whatever way I can in the town hall. Anything that needs to be done that I can do, will get done. Other than that, I don't have any specific things, no,
What's your interest?
experience really, anything, I'll do anything.
But
As long as-
finance operations, like,
Well, I'm closer, I'm more on the business side of things, so I like the finances more than most of the other aspects of the whole thing, but I really have no specifics, anything,
no, we look forward to having you around.
thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
So
Nice
the
to meet
really
you.
cool thing is I heard today, he already understands what free cash is.
Wow.
And he realizes it's not free. Thanks, Colin.
All right.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks.
All right. So that as you had asked to have the planning board take a look at the food trucks from and they will be reviewing it on the 18th so that you will have it on the 19th with any responses they might have or input. The committee handbook that you guys had looked at with our previous HR director had gone to legal and you guys had reviewed it. After some going through it, Troy and I feel that there might be some gaps that we'd like to look at it again and make some suggestions and bring it back to you and legal for their input. Things just keep changing, especially with freedom of speech and all of that. We just want to make sure it's all really tight and clean. But I think the most important thing is the code of conduct that you approved. I think it was several months ago, that will be a part of going out with a committee handbook so that everybody sees that. And then even more important, Troy is going to coordinate with our town council, a training for all committee members that will be, they're volunteers. We can't mandate certain things, but I think we've all seen that we really need to get everybody on the same page with doing agendas, doing minutes, and how to conduct a meeting. So I'm excited about that. Troy's really taken the rein with that and he's been really busy. So it's good news for us. Some of the procurement things that are happening right now, Seaway Solar, we had lots of people take out the bids, but we didn't have anybody return them. So we are extending that and just reaching out to see what might have been some of the concerns, but we've extended that date. And the Town Hall Collins and Russell School to reuse feasibility study proposals, they both are in progress. But as you know, you got to go through all of it. There are lots and lots of paperwork and lots of editing. So, and going back with legal to review. We're also, Jennifer has been overseeing the transition from .org to .gov. That should be happening next week. So any transition might have some blips in the process, but we're going to keep you up to date on when that's going to actually happen, what your new address is going to be. But we need to be at this place. We need to be on with .gov and not .org.
Carolyn, can I just ask a question maybe for Jennifer? So when we go through the transition, if somebody sends an email to the .org
It will go to
address,
yours.
it's going to be forwarded.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for some amount of time.
Yes.
Actually, it's not just for very, very, very.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's that. And then I am doing my last trip to Delaware this tomorrow, but I'll be back on Monday. So
Your last trip.
this of the week, I'm sorry, of the summer.
Oh,
They've got to do the drive now.
okay.
'Cause 2 weeks and, twice in a month is a lot. So, but you can reach me. It's never an issue. So
Sounds
that's all
good.
I have.
All right, select board member items for future discussion. I did have one, so I was approached by a resident, and I believe it's actually multiple residents. And so one thing that they are doing, they're looking at spearheading a project to put veteran banners up. And I think, oh, hi. It's not on the agenda, so we can't actually deliberate or talk about it. But it is something that I would like to put onto the future agenda. And I believe that there are some people that we might want to pull in to that.
Troy is a veteran service officer, and as well as we have Steve too as well. So I think it's happened in other towns. It's really cool. So
Yeah.
we'll get that on the next agenda.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else to add for future discussion? Anything else? Okay. Excellent. Liaison reports. Does anyone have anything? And,
I have this from the fire department.
okay,
All right, so we have good news. We finally got money from a grant. So we have received $247,000, $247,200 for the purchase of new air packs. Congratulations on behalf of the Department of Homeland Security. Your application submitted for the fiscal year FY 2022 Assistance to Firefighters Grant, AFG grant funding opportunity has been approved in the amount of $247,200 in federal funding. As a condition of the grant, you are required to contribute non-federal funds, yada, yada. But we only have to contribute 12,000 and they're going to give us $247,200. So finally, we have gotten a grant. So
Yay, Mike.
yeah,
thank you so much to
They worked hard.
Chief Spankinable and to Assistant Fire Chief Evan, who also participated in the grant writing. So very thankful for both of those guys. So thank you very much.
nice.
Oh, I got one more. Oh, no, not now.
Don't do the,
That
annou-
was it. That
we're,
was the
yeah,
least,
so if there isn't any more, we can go to announcements.
I got one announcement.
One announcement.
So to the family of Gretchen Tudrin, condolences to her husband Jim and family on her passing this past, I believe it was June 25th. So condolences to everybody.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Randy, second by Molly. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we will see everyone back on what day is this?
The 19th, I will be on Zoom that night.
I might be.
Trailer?
But
In the